Good evening, good morning, good afternoon. I thought we'd go for a bit of a longer intro there. It is the end of summer. We're just about to start putting the patio chairs back in the shed. We're going out with one big last hurrah. We're going to take down, that's right, the hood and that soft top. We're going to drive it around the neighbourhood again at full speed for one more time before the kids go back to school. Yes, the show that's on your radio and all about cars is back once again like a bad penny. We're going to be known from now on as Spare Change Radio. It's the show that caters for you if you decide to splash out on a Rolls Royce or a Maybach. Which one do you want? Or do you want to know how much to water down your screw wash for your 1987 Nissan Bluebird? We have all the answers. I would say 25 to 75. You'd probably disagree with that. You're probably a bit safer than me, but I'm very
probably,
cheap when it comes to screen wash, even though it's not exactly the most expensive thing on the planet. Yes, the show is back. If you like cars and blokes talking crap about cars, you're in the right place. This week we've got the usual correspondence in the bulging, throbbing and informative mailbag. We've got me moaning about motoring offences. I can't think of why. And we've got our finger on the pulse of the current affairs in the news. Oh, I also got a great quiz for you this week. Like Lazarus of Bethany, we bring back someone, or more like something, from the dead. We resurrect Bruce Forsyth. You were worried I was going to say, we resurrect Bruce Forsyth. No, I'm not going to say that, because he's dead as well.
Yes.
We resurrect Bruce Forsyth's classic 1980s TV show for this week's quiz. It'll be called Play Your Cars Right.
That's what he did. Yeah.
And instead of asking our lucky contestant if they think a car will be higher or lower, we're going to ask our dolly dealers if they think the limit of a particular country will be higher or lower than the one here in the UK, which is, of course, 70 miles per hour. I have never been known to drive above that speed.
And it's hello, good evening, and welcome. Yes, I'm David Frost. Sorry, no, I'm not. And thanks for joining us again on this week's show. Sorry about our absence last week because we were doing all the holiday stuff. We're going on our annual break to Marbella, Torremolinos, Malaga, for chips and gravy and good old British beer.
Hello.
But do not fear, it is I, Leclerc. We're back this week and we'll be talking about a classic from the former Czechoslovakia in our classic car section. And Rich will be moaning about that traffic ticket that he got.
I will be moaning about that.
He got another ticket. I'm Simon Choose-One, and darkness imprisoning me, and all I see, absolute horror. I cannot live, I cannot die, trapped in myself, body, my holding cell.
Oh, angry this week, Simon. Thank you, James Hetfield. And I'm Richard Green. I'm up above the streets and houses, rainbow climbing high. Everyone can see it climbing through the sky. Paint the whole world with our rainbow. That's enough. We'll get done for royalties. And this is car-boyz. Now, as Simon just mentioned, I have been out on holiday on the beautiful country of Spain. Great food, great weather, good wine, and a somewhat lackadaisical approach to parking of cars. You may have seen the picture I posted on our Facebook page. We've got a wonderfully dented Hyundai Accent with only one headlight working, blocked in by two other cars who are parked on the outside of this Hyundai, parked next to the sidewalk or the pavement. So in effect, you've got a double park situation. I hear you ask, who is the guy who owns the crappy Hyundai Accent with only one working headlamp? How is he going to get his car out of this space? Well, I'll tell you, and it's a little known fact, and in many hot countries, including Spain and mild haunt Thailand, people leave their handbrake off. So
really?
You merely gently push the other car out of the way. It's not advisable to try this on any sort of road with a gradient, but if it's relatively flat, don't put the handbrake on, don't leave it in gear, gently push the car out of the way, and
that's mad.
You can retrieve the car that's parked. Now, this is all well and good if you own a 2001 Hyundai Accent with one headlight covered in dents, but if you own a nice new car, do you really want some thick-handed local covered in dirty 9-carat gold rings pushing your car out of the way and maybe threatening to chip the paint, or worse still, ram it into another car or a movable force, like a metal barrier or a concrete bollard? So you can see double parking is purely a pastime for those who do not care about their car. In Thailand, where I worked in my offices for the government, we had a whole car park that was completely full of cars. So
We
if
need
you got there early,
yeah.
the car park attendants had a lot of cars to push out of the way so they could get your car out. This is why I went to
Wow.
work on a fold-up bike or a taxi. I'm like,
We
not a car in here.
we should do one of those polls where we work out who are the worst parkers. Are they the French,
Ooh.
the Spanish, the Thai? We'll have to do some kind of poll or something like that.
Thailand's pretty bad. The worst I've ever seen, and it may have changed, but from the 90s, when my wife worked in the EU, Brussels was the worst parking. I think because there wasn't any traffic restrictions. She lived in the centre of town, and there were no. I said, "Well, I'm going to have to get a ticket." She said, "No. There's no. You park anywhere." Right. So I parked on the street, but then on the corner near her office would be like 5 cars parked on the pavement. I just don't think they had traffic wardens. Or if they did, they didn't patrol. It may have changed, but I do remember some. Wow, there's 6 cars just on the sidewalk, and I'm looking around, and this is apparently a normal thing. Or like parked, and then imagine you'd had about 8 pints of beer, and you just drove down the road, and then went, "Well, I'm just going to park here," and then left the car and
No.
walked away.
They're
Yeah, like
probably
with one wheel on the pavement, one wheel on, parked at an angle. That's going to get towed in the UK and the States.
they're probably away having lunch, watching Poirot or something like that. Some other stereotype in Belgium.
They probably are drunk. They do like a good old drink out there. They make some of the strongest beer in the world. Are we ready for the news?
Yes, we are. Car news, and of course, we start off
Hang
with.
on, we've got some music. Wait for the music.
Oh yeah.
Get excited. Well, here we go. Off you go.
Car news, and of course, electric car news. Seat are the latest car manufacturer to roll out another electric hybrid with the launch of this is really the name, the Tarraco.
Ooh.
Uh,
I had a similar meal in Spain. I'll have the Tarraco, please.
I
With
think
hot
he used to
sauce.
play for Spurs.
Yes.
Which will make its public appearance at next month's Frankfurt Motor Show. Available to order in the first half of 2020, the petrol-electric large SUV will be the first launched by any of the Volkswagen Group's non-premium brands. That includes the Volkswagen brand itself, which revealed a Tiguan GTE version back in 2016, which never made production. The Tarraco, PHEV, which stands for plug-in hybrid electric vehicle, if you didn't know. Makes use of a turbocharged 1.4 petrol engine, putting out a tasty 148 bhp. This is mated to a 113 bhp electric motor fed by a 13 kilowatts per hour lithium-ion battery. Hopefully it doesn't catch fire. The total system output is quoted at 242 bhp, and it's a similar powertrain to that in the Volkswagen Passat GTE, albeit with a chunkier, more power, meaning it becomes the most powerful version of the Tarraco. The powertrain is sufficient to enable a top speed of, if you can do it on the Autobahn, 135 miles an hour, and 0 to 60 time of 7.4 seconds.
Respectable.
For the 5 or 7 seat SUV. Official fuel economy has yet to be quoted prior to the homologation, but CO2 emissions are said to be less than 50 grams a kilometre. Not quite sure how that works. Seat claims an electric-only range of, quote-unquote, more than 31 miles.
Great!
That would get me from one side of London and possibly back.
Just
31 miles. Yeah.
It wouldn't get me into town. I'd struggle.
Mm.
It would get me maybe to Clapham. Maybe not. It would. It would get me to the place I used to work. It'd get me to Ealing and back.
Yeah.
31
miles though. But hey, but we didn't post. Didn't we post a picture of an early version of this car?
Yeah,
on Facebook,
no. See, I got confused. It was your mention of the FEV, as I like to call it.
Yes.
PHEV, the plug-in hybrid electric vehicle. And I saw it on the back of Mitsubishi, and I just no idea what it was. I just went, "Is this the Mitsubishi FEV?" It's like how to pronounce a Vietnamese soup, poo, or pho, or pho, I think it's fur. So
So
that's what I was like. So now I know the acronym. Thank you. You've informed me. Is plug-in
hybrid electric
electric
vehicle. There you go. We're educational.
31 miles on a full charge. So let me get this right. The petrol engine's going. The electric engine's going. And you turn the petrol off. I'm going to be good. And you've got 30 miles. Before you got the petrol engine back on.
Depending on which way the wind's blowing, possibly.
So in its, I don't know what they say with this CO2. I don't care about CO2 emissions. Sorry. I wonder what the MPG is going to be. They haven't mentioned that.
No, but 1.4 petrol, possibly.
Yeah, but
it's quite good.
Yeah, I mean, it should be. I mean, I'd want 50 out of it. If you're not getting 50,
at least,
I'd be naffed off. That's a heavy car to schlep around on 1.4. I mean, 1.4 is what my mother's Honda Jazz is.
So, and that weighs as much as a fridge, I think, or something.
Yeah, it doesn't weigh anything. We've just she parked it badly the other day, and I just picked it up with one hand and turned it around. It does. That's an awfully heavy car. So I think the 1.4 is also powering the battery engine. The battery's going into. So that's both full on. See, I'm not sure you can add that together. I am not a scientist. I do not have a degree in physics. I have a GCSE. But I think if that petrol engine is charging the electric motor, or is it not? Is the electric motor being fed? Is the charge in the electric motor being fed by when you're applying the brakes?
Yes, so it generates through. Is it kinetic energy?
Okay, so the stopping. Every time you stop, that charges the lithium-ion battery.
Yes.
So the petrol engine is acting alone in being its own. It's not supplying power to the electric motor.
Possibly not. If anyone from SEAT's listening, get in touch. Let us know how your technology works.
Yes, I'd never have one. I think it's what's it? I really do think it's smoke and mirrors. You either make the engine very, very fuel efficient. All this lithium ion. What's going to happen to this car in 15 years' time if you want to be really green about it? Because it's going to have a big old lithium ion battery that's probably going to be gone. A bit
they last about 10 years. The batteries.
Yeah. And we're now looking at, as we did a story a couple of weeks ago, cars being 15 years old on average by the time.
Yeah. Sounds about right.
Okay. Talking about conspiracies, in corporations take over the global car news. This is weird. Toyota and Suzuki have announced plans to acquire a financial stake in each other's operations as part of a move towards a collaborative development program, or as they call it, synergy. Toyota plans to take a 5% stake out in Suzuki at a cost of $750 million.
Cheap.
Jeff, God, that's what I spend every week on alcohol. For 24 million shares in common stock. Meanwhile, Suzuki will invest roughly 372 million in Toyota, which doesn't sound quite as
much. They're not equal partners, are
they? The deal is awaiting approval from the foreign competition authorities in Japan. The difference in investment reflects Toyota's inflated value. In 2018, the company became the first Japanese firm to achieve annual sales of 232 billion, the most reliable car company, I think, on the planet, Toyota. Suzuki achieved 28 billion, which is still very good, but it's a tenth of it. In March, the two companies announced their first details of a wide-ranging collaboration, which will involve Toyota producing Suzuki-badged hybrid vehicles based on the RAV4 and the Corolla estate for the Europeans. The deal will include Suzuki vehicles being built at Toyota's Derbyshire plant. So good news for the UK. But we've got BMW. We've been mentioning this over the last few weeks, making the Supra for Toyota. Jaguar Land Rover, British brand, owned by Indian Tata Group, who also own Tetley too. And I think British Steel, or used to.
Yes.
They're going to use BMW engines in their new Land Rover. Dacia is owned by Peugeot Citroën Group. I think Nissan is owned by Peugeot. Is owned by Renault.
Renault.
Yeah, hang on. No, get it right. Dacia is owned by Renault. Nissan's owned by Renault. And Toyota and Suzuki are partly merging. So are we going to be left with some sort of dystopian future with one car brand? That's my slight fear. There'll just be one brand. It'll be car. I would like car, please.
In blue, preferably metallic pink.
Your other choices, sir, are blue, blue, and blue. Or you can have it eye blue.
I will have it in blue then.
Okay, sir. and
It's
suddenly
nuts.
1984 becomes a reality.
Mm.
We've all got to make. I understand the idea of manufacturing is very expensive, and if somebody's got a good product, you might as well buy that product, put it into your into your car. But this to me is really scary because there's not much innovation, and there's certainly no competition.
Yeah. So we're just going to be one and the same.
I just wonder whether there's going to be a lot of us driving around in cars that are really, really old, just hanging on to the last of the 20th century and the early 21st century cars by the mid 2050s going, nope, not selling this because it works. And they will try, and they'll be like Cuba is now. I'll go, oh, I haven't got a rear panel for that Toyota Accord. Don't worry, we'll cut a door off this old Volvo and I'll bash it into shape and I'll weld that on. And there'll be this group of us driving around in these old bangers with all bits of, because we can't trust the big man. I may be, getting a bit paranoid, but
no, I think you're probably right. I think that's the way it's going.
it's quite
It'll
fun.
just be soulless cars. Anyway, now in how to crash your car at night news.
Oh,
yes, a new part of the news section. BMW has revealed a one-off black version of its new X6 SUV. Lots of SUVs. I think this goes back to what we were saying about cars becoming bigger, so they can put more batteries and stuff like that.
yes.
But it's finished in a shade of intended to emphasize the silhouette of the second generation model, so dark it obscures most design details. To be revealed in the Frankfurt Motor Show, the model has been finished in Vanta Black. I think that's how you say it in German. Painted by New Haven-based Surrey Nano Systems. The non-reflective colour can make an object appear two-dimensional, and as a result is rather unsuitable vehicle paint finish.
It sounds unsafe.
Why? Yeah. Asked why the X6 will be painted this way. The model's designer, Hussein Al Attar, who I think is probably somewhere from the Middle East, said,
so the Americans cannot see it when we are driving through the desert. Sorry, no, he didn't say that.
Internally, we refer to the BMW X6 as the Beast. I think that says it all. I'm not quite sure how that works. Vanta stands for vertically aligned nanotube array, which easily trips off the tongue, and refers to the microscopic carbon structure that forms the basis of the finish. Each strand is 5,000 times thinner than a human hair, if you've got any, and 14 to 50 micrometers long and 20 nanometers in diameter. If you understood any of that.
How is a nanometer about that much?
Yeah, I think so.
Or a little
Possibly.
bit
Might be
a little bit bigger.
Smaller. Yeah.
Okay, right, sorry.
Each square centimeter of the one-off X6 contains around 1 billion nanotubes, which absorbs rather than reflect and effectively convert it to heat. So, are they making these cars like stealth vehicles?
Well, I would guess.
Yeah, possibly. The technology was originally designed for those for use in space exploration, hence why they're using it on cars. Its propensity to reduce glare and bleaching means that it's suitable for coating aluminium and optical components, which of course the BMW X6 is an optical component. The company's first Avata Black paint was launched in 2014 and was claimed to absorb 99.965% of the light. Don't know what happened to the rest of the light. The show car will make its public debut at Frankfurt alongside the production X6 and the bulletproof X5 protection VR6.
Yeah, I mean, this. Listen, I remember a mate of mine doing this to a princess in about 1989. So, right, seriously. So there was a fashion in the last few years for a matte paint.
Matte, yes,
matte paint.
Like blackboard paint.
Well, no, right now it comes to the essence of our story. Every time I see a Mercedes in blackboard paint, black matte, I want to go into a stationer's and buy some chalk and write cock on the side, or even better, just draw a giant cock on the bonnet because it's blackboard paint. And this is what my mate did to a princess. He jacked up the rear suspension. If you don't know the princess.
It's like an aubergine.
Yeah,
on wheels.
It's if an aubergine had sex with a piece of cheese, that would be the princess. My uncle bought the ex-mayor of Coventry's princess and he, I think it was in like a beige brown. It was the mayoral car with leather interior, and he painted it beautifully black and gold with gold underneath. It's
Oh,
early 80s,
nice.
and he got some good money for it. But my mate, Jack's at the back of this Princess, thinks, well, what do Americans do with 1970s cars? They turn them into hot rods. This is
Yes.
1989 in a village in South Warwickshire in the Cotswolds, takes the Princess, Jack's at the rear back, puts an air scoop on the bonnet. I'll remind you, I think the Princess may have only had a 1.4 naturally aspirated petrol
Yes.
engine. No need for an air scoop. And then took, with a brush, I think this was an early rat rod, a couple of big old tins of blackboard paint and painted the car. Oh, he also chopped off half the exhaust, so you could hear this thing coming. So it looked like Mad Max. I think he had
So,
puffy dice and they.
so in order to clean the car, would you use one of those blackboard rubbers
Yeah,
to wipe it down?
I would. I'd also get a teenager in a uniform to do it. Jones, we walk driving down the street, just stop. Jones, over here, Jones. Wipe clean my car. Sorry, sir. Like we used to clean the blackboard in the
Yes.
70s and 80s, probably 90s in your case.
Good times.
Yes. So I saw this. I'm like, why do you want your car to be? I sort of get the why does it not have to reflect light and look two-dimensional? It's the last thing I want. Junction, in southeast London at 3 o'clock on a Saturday night. I don't get it. I get the rat rod. Don't get it. I get that knackered paint look, and then you keep that, and then you put a clear coat over it. I get a highly polished car.
Yeah.
I get a beta car. So this is like, it looks shit. It looks awful and flat, but it's really expensive. Okay.
That is rather unsuitable. Really unsuitable.
I mean, it is. It's a what's it, isn't it? It's a. I would say it's not even a lost leader. It's just Emperor's New Clothes.
Yeah.
It's just, let's have a bit of fun. What can we do? We're BMW. Obviously, Mr. Hussein Altar sees it being used possibly in the Middle East by certain organisations. The drones cannot see it, Ahmed. It is brilliant. Straight through the desert. We paid all our Toyota 4x4s in this. Yes, I like it. Every single one Hilux. We paint in this color. Or not. Or maybe not. Maybe he won't say that at all. Finally, in car manufacturing news, Europe's new car market saw a return to growth in July. New registrations rose 1.2 over the previous year. Figures released by the analysis JATO Dynamics revealed that 1.35 million models found homes in July, with increasingly largely driven by the demand for hybrid and electric cars. Battery electric, plug-in hybrid, and other electrified vehicles totaled over 96,000 units, an increase of 29% over July 2018. But it was pure electric cars that saw the biggest gains. Volumes increased 98%.
Wow.
Does
that mean that no one bought any before that?
2%. No, the increase. Yes, 2% of people bought them before the year before. No, I'm guessing it's an increase of. So if you sold 5, then you sold 4.99. On top of 5 would be 9. Basically, it doubled. Why didn't I just say that? The volume has doubled. The 23. That's basically.
That's it.
Yeah, the volume's doubled to 23,200 units, with Renault's Zoe, the top-selling model, and Tesla, the top-selling brand. I am seeing lots and lots of Teslas around my area. The increased sales helped boost electric overall market share from 5.8 to 7.4%. Sales of diesel models continue to fall as the fuel type falls out of favour, with customers holding 31% of the overall market, a 5% drop compared to 2018. Despite the EVs still have less than 10% of the market share, with diesel still holding on to a third of the market. So it's petrol at 60, diesel at 30, and electric vehicles at 10%. I am seeing lots of Teslas, but they are incredible.
There's a lot, yeah. They are nice, though. They really are nice cars.
I have not been in one. I've seen some performance figures, and they are shockingly fast 0 to 60, which always appeals.
Because it's instant torque, because it's electric. So
yeah, totally. It's on or off. There's no gearing. On, off. And this is why you used to crash and scare electric cars.
And also, remember, if you want to show you're working out for the 23,000 units for the Renault Zoe, and all that, you could do the workings out on your blackboard, paint your car.
Yeah, you could. On the back or back of somebody's very expensive Mercedes that they think looks great in matte black. If you want to get in touch with us, it's car-boys at car-boyz, all the Z's, 4 Z's at the end. That's our Facebook page. Email the boys at car-boys with a Z at outlook.com. The Twitter is car-boys at car_boys.
Fantastic. And we've got some letters coming up in a little bit from now, and also the quiz is coming up later on as well.
Yes.
But first, another regular feature of the show, if you haven't heard it before, we do classic cars. So I'm going to start off this time with a bit of a joke for you. What do you call a Skoda with a sunroof?
It's an oldie but a goodie. Skip?
Yes, a Skip. So this week, if I said to you, rear drive, rear engine car, you'd probably say Porsche 911.
I would, from Central Europe as well. I would go, yeah, Porsche 911. Yes.
But no, there was other cars. This car had 4 doors and could fit a small family in it. They may have been short, I don't know, but what I meant by small family. It was produced in Czechoslovakia, and the Skoda one. Yes.
Sorry. Well, one half of the Crankies, anyway.
Yeah. The Skoda 120, or the Estelle, which it was known as in the UK, was the butt of jokes for years. The one time it was the cheapest car you could buy in the UK, but it had a difficult birth because in the Soviet Union, they got very worried. The development of the cars were in fear of the Russians, because they said if you built a car that was better, front-engined, rear-wheel drive, modern engine, it would be better, more modern than anything offered for the Soviet Union. So they had to stick with the formula, which was rear drive and rear engine. And this was produced in August 1976, and it had either a 1 litre or 1.2 litre engine with 50 bhp and a 4-speed manual. It did have some innovations. It had independent front suspension, but that's about where it stopped. And it had a swing axle rear suspension with its most unusual feature. I don't know if you remember this. The bonnet opened sideways.
Oh.
Well, the bonnet was rear engine, but when I said bonnet, what we traditionally think is the bonnet at the front, it opened sideways, so you can access it either through the front of the car or the side of the car.
Hang on. So it's a rear wheel drive front engine or rear wheel drive rear engine?
It was rear wheel drive rear engine. Had a bonnet at the front. It had a radiator at the front, which helped with cooling.
Right.
But the rest of it, you could put storage in there. So it's kind of a boot bonnet type
Okay,
thing.
right, fine. Yeah. I get it. Yeah.
The car itself was quite rugged. It was built predominantly for poor quality Eastern European roads, which was an advantage where the car was introduced onto the rally circuit, where more often than not it won the rallies that it was entered in, winning in its class. The 4-door saloon was incrementally improved year after year, and was later complemented by a coupe version in the 1980s.
I remember that.
Yeah, it was really good. The Rapide. It's funny. It was called Rapide. It was anything but. Despite its shoddy handling and poor build quality, the root cause of those many jokes that we said about the Skodas, the later models were very much improved and had a wider track, 5-speed gearbox, improved suspension, and even the sports coupe model, which was the Rapide. At the end of a 14-year run of production, the Skoda, they had made nearly 2 million Estelles. So we were talking about this morning. I think I messaged you this morning and said 2 million is not to be sniffed at. That's quite a few cars.
Yeah, I'm thinking you're up there. VW. What was VW Beetles only 3 million? The actual original, was that a lot more?
That was a lot more. I can't remember from last week's quiz.
Maybe I'm thinking Fiat then. That is that's a lot of cars.
Yeah,
of which there's probably none left.
No, there are. There's quite a lot. There's not many in Britain because they've been exported out back to the to former Czechoslovakia. They did a survey in 2004, and of the 3 million cars that were registered in the Czech Republic, 1.7 million of those were Skodas, and of that, 400,000 were the Rapides, making them the 4th most popular car in the Czech Republic. So I was having a look on the internet yesterday for some research on this. You pretty much avoid anything before 1984 because the suspension was rubbish. So what you would then do is go and get anything after 1984 with a better suspension. Parts are still easy to come by, and you should get classic car insurance on this, but it's not. It's not exempt from the tax.
No.
I looked this morning, and the average prices were around £2,000 to £3,000, and they are on the rise.
It's not a lot to spend on something different, is it? I'm just looking now at a soft top on the internet, 1984, and that it looks very much of its period. But I have a vivid memory of the former topless model Samantha Fox advertising these things for Swivland Motors in the 1980s. Not wearing very much, but sat on top on the bonnet of a Skoda. It's a cheap car, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's a Skoda. It's great, isn't it? Of course, they've got motoring heritage, rallying heritage. There is an argument that they were the inventors of the rear-wheel drive. Well, the Czechs certainly, I think, through the Tata Corporation in the 1930s, who had a very, very similar looking car to the Porsche, which the car became the 911. And that was sort of squished and taken by Porsche as Germans in '38 invaded Czechoslovakia, as it was then. But they've got a motoring heritage, the Czechs, and it is, it's something very, very different. If you want something different, and people are these days, especially, I mean, I remember these things 20, 25 years ago. People would just laugh at them, but now you're looking at it through. It looks different. People are going to say, "What?" So there's a touch of an Astra about it.
I was looking at it. It reminded me of the Morris or the Austin.
Oh, yes, Ital. It does look a bit like the Ital.
With the big front lights. Yeah.
This has a 70s design written all over it. And I'm looking at one, and the shut lines look like you get your hand between them. So it's not exactly the smoothest car. But you want something different, and you're never going to lose money now on classic cars like that. They're in good. So very, very interesting. Oh, well done, young man. I'll never. I actually remember somebody breaking into one. I first moved to Nottingham in the mid-90s, and I had a Citroen, and I'd fitted a car alarm to it. Or me and my mate had. Badly, we found out first because we'd fitted the alarm so that it only worked when the horn was on. So it was great. So as long as I put a stick on the horn, say a walking stick, jammed it in place, so it permanently the horn was on, then the car would be alarmed. So we remedied that, and I parked the car in Nottingham where I was living at the time. I walked down the road and literally saw somebody breaking into a Skoda Estelle with a coat hanger. Okay. Not as much, but yeah, cool little car. Thank you very much.
Okay, car this week.
Right, we're going to look at some Lost Highways. I'll take the first one. That Lost Highways feature here on car-boyz is it's your chance to get in touch with some of your favourite roads. We've had them all over from Scotland. Somebody emailed from France last week. 3 listeners have got in touch with their favourite roads. First off, it's Frank in Greece.
Hello, Frank.
Hello, Frank. I think he might be an expat. He's telling us he loves the coastal road in Corfu. He hasn't given it a name, but it runs from the Corfu town, Kirkira, all the way down south to Lefkimi. He said
Thanks, Frank. You're giving us really tough names.
Yeah, exactly. I hope I'm pronouncing this right. He said it's a thin coastal road, but has amazing views out across the Ionian Sea. I first read that and went, Ionian Sea. The Ionian Sea. He said it's steep at times and very thin with tall pine trees along the route, but views at sunset and dawn around this world. Even better, the road is littered with small villages and beach resorts, all of which provide you with great food, Greek beer, and coffee to keep you refreshed. There's also numerous bays up and down the coastline for you to swim in the warm sea between Corfu and Albania.
Ooh.
Sounds rather pleasant.
It does. So if you're in Greece, check that out. Claudia writes to us from Switzerland, and she says, I think she's written him before. She says, the best road for driving is the famed Swiss Great St. Bernard Pass, where the dogs run past you. No, it's not. Great Swiss St. Bernard Pass, which takes you from Martinghi, which is apparently her hometown in Switzerland, to Azotta in Italy.
Azotta? Maybe, yeah.
That's not my best Italian pronunciation.
That's fine.
This famed mountain route is home to the iconic dog. Oh, it is! Which slaves climbers and drinks brandy Fantastic. And St. Bernard, along with the monks from the same
I
order.
don't think the dog drank the brandy. It just had a barrel under its neck.
It's,
It had a big barrel. Do you remember
was that Bernie
Schnorbitz from the night?
Winters?
Bernie Winters and his brother,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
Schnorbitz the dog. No, the Saint Bernard. I once saw one in Thailand in the back of a pickup truck, barking, and the thing looked like. I mean, Thailand. This is the middle of the day. It's nearly 40 degrees Celsius.
Yeah.
The thing looked like it
Wow.
wanted to shoot itself in the head, covered in fur. But yeah, they had a big collar with a giant barrel underneath, and apparently the St. Bernard was supposed to save the avalanche victim and dispel eau de
Okay.
vie, the water of life, a little bit of brandy from
Mm,
its cask. Or what's the other one up there? Genepi is the other eau de vie that they give you in the
yes.
Alps.
Yeah. By the way, she said it's a historic route used for thousands of years. You'll pass through the postcard, picture perfect landscape of the Swiss Alps, surrounded each side by the peaks and the crags. As you travel, you rise almost 2,500 meters above sea level through tunnels and winding alpine roads, complete with vivid green meadows and blue alpine lakes.
Do you get to see the milk a cow?
The purple cows.
I hope so. I've been to Switzerland. You do see milk of cows. They're not purple.
Oh, okay.
They're a good people. Their views on motoring are very conservative.
Yes.
Their speed limits are conservative, shall we say, which we'll find out later on in the programme when we do our
Ooh,
quiz.
exciting.
Play your cars right. Will the speed be higher? If you're listening to an American and thinking, what is he doing an impression of? Just go on the internet and look up Play Your Cards Right, Bruce Forsyth, 1980s, and I'll explain everything you need to know.
Nothing to repair, not in this game.
Not in this game, love. Can you see my wig? No, they can't see the joint at all, Bruce. Okay, final one. Tony in London writes in again and says, no, the best road is the M3 in London because it's the best way to get out of the stinking mess that is the capital. But make sure you drive at 20 miles an hour or below, obviously, because it is 1887 and have a bloke with a red flag running in front of your car. He sent this one last week. He's I think he wants the A1. He doesn't like London. He wants to get out of it. Pretty much, it's not a driving.
I do like that. There's one particular bend. I think it's on the M3 where you've got this giant Art Deco building on one side and you've got the waterworks on the other side. And it's on this massive curve of a road.
A316, just before it turns into the M3.
Ooh.
It's the London Metropolitan Waterworks.
That's the one.
Building. My mate drives a motorcycle. Now, when he goes over it, because it rises, the old A316 was a road, and they built this overpass over the old road. He has to get onto the pegs on his bike. He said, because if you hit it and you sat on the bike, you fly. There's a little bump there, which you never notice.
Nice. Yeah.
The interesting thing about the waterworks, this is getting really boring, is if you're going out of London and look on the left-hand side, that building there houses the last working steam engine, or the same working steam engine that was in the Titanic. And it's a working steam pump. So when they did the engine scenes in the Titanic movie,
did they film it there?
They filmed it there in the Sunbury Waterworks. Yes.
That's a lovely nugget of information.
Yeah, I'm full of useless crap. Okay, let's get rid of that and take a look at the usual correspondence. In this week's car-boyz postbag, again, it's as usual bulging with mail. First off, we've got email from Alistair in Birmingham, England, not Alabama. Can you tell me what I should do as my aircon is broken? I have a 2002 Toyota Corolla. Is it worth getting a new condenser for the car? Boy, I could do with it in this heat. Yeah, it's very hot in England at the moment. It's about 31 degrees. No, I wouldn't bother. I would wind down the windows. Unless you can be bothered to go to a breakers. The problem is a condenser for that car is going to cost you 400 quid.
Yeah.
It's going to cost you...
Pretty expensive.
200 to get it fitted.
Probably something like that.
That car's probably worth 700-800 quid. So you can go to a breakers. I love the car. It's only got, 50,000 miles on the clock. So you go to a breakers yard, or you could go on the internet and find a condenser, which you maybe get for 100 quid if you're lucky. Still going to cost you 100 quid, 150 to get it fixed. Is it
It's usually what happens is it's not necessarily the condenser goes, it's all the bits around it, and it's the pulleys
okay?
and all
Right.
of that stuff. So sometimes I go, oh yeah, no, you need a new condenser, but maybe not. It might
Okay.
not be. It might not be.
Well,
But then if it's had someone check it out, then it may be.
interestingly, my father has a 2003 Honda Civic.
Yes.
The aircon went 2 summers ago, and it's 400 quid for the unit. And he's like, it's a 700, 800 quid car.
Yeah.
So what do you
Wind the
do? And he
windows
went,
down.
I just wind the windows down.
Exactly.
And I drove the other day a Mercedes van with no aircon on a very hot day, and I just drove with the windows down. It's not the most pleasant experience. Although, do you do this? I find myself putting my aircon on to make sure my aircon keeps working.
Working, yeah. If not,
So
it goes all smelly and horrible, yeah.
So I run my aircon all year, even though for most of the year I don't need my aircon. How bizarre is that?
If you think about it, the amount of fuel economy you lose having the aircon on, you'll probably lose anyway by having the windows open. So, yeah, same thing, same difference.
Yeah. What did my grandfather used to say? I haven't got aircon. I've got 230 aircon. I said, what's that? Well, I'll wind both both the driver and the passenger window down. I drive at 30 miles an hour.
Nice. If you've got any tips for us on keeping cool,
yes, please.
Write into us. We have another letter, guys. How are you? Asked Emil in Mexico City. Love the show. But can you do a feature on Mexican VWs? We still produce some classic cars down here, and I'm on my 4th Beetle. Probably Ringo, and my dad owns a microbus.
That's right.
Thomas, the tank engine.
He's the only one still left alive. Oh no, there's him and Paul.
Paul. Yeah. Well, let's have a look. VW Beetle was introduced as a car brand to Mexico in 1954, with aspirations of exporting out to USA and manufacturing following in 1961. Despite the model being discontinued in Germany in the late 70s, it continued to be manufactured in Puebla, Mexico, until 2004. They are the iconic taxi of Mexico City. I've never been, but really
white and green.
Nice. And the buses or microvans are still being produced in Brazil up till 2020, because I think there was a law that was passed which meant they had to be fitted with something or other. I think airbags. That's why they had to stop making them.
Okay. No, you meant 2012, not 2020.
Did I? Oh,
you just said 20. Unless this is 2025. And we're from the future.
It's a retrospective. 2012. Sorry.
Herbie was, I think, Mexican, wasn't he? Herbie Goes Bananas, wasn't he? Wasn't he a taxi in Mexico City?
Bingo. I don't know.
And he escaped across the border before they built the wall.
Yes.
I'm looking at him and Dora. I think Dora was driving. They went across the border and did, and shook things up. I always love Herbie. We need to do a feature. Well, haven't we do a feature on VWs or Mexican? I would know. Yeah, Mexican VWs any different from? I know there's a company over here called Danbury who bring me camper vans across from Mexico and Brazil, and they get them up to British spec. They are incredibly expensive. It's a 30 to 40,000 pound. The Danbury conversions. They think they do it down in Devon. So they take, because the Brazilian car has no, and the Mexican cars have no heaters or very little heaters. The pollution levels are very, very different. The emissions don't pass European standards.
I think also, aren't they water cooled as well, rather than air cooled, because of the altitude?
Certainly, the original Beetles were all air cooled. I'm not sure about the minibuses. I thought they'd change that. We'll look that up for you.
Well, sure, and we'll do a feature on Mexican VWs.
Yes, there we go. CD111 contacted the podcast. He's a lover of classic cars, but wants a daily driver that doesn't break down in English damp weather. Okay. He commutes 40 miles a day, lives in Manchester, and has a budget of 3,000 quid. What do you reckon?
Something that's a bit bulletproof, £3,000. Oh, classic cars. It doesn't want to drop
Difficult,
top.
isn't it?
Definitely not
No,
not in this weather.
definitely not in Manchester.
I
I don't
don't
think
know
they've ever
what's.
seen sunshine up there.
No, it always rains up there.
Mm.
I don't know what's available for 3,000. You could get a Skoda.
Get a Skoda.
We did that as a feature.
They lasted in the Czech Republic. I think that
40
thing.
mpg.
Yeah, I don't think that thing is going to last. The damp weather's
No.
going to kill it. I had an old Escort, and the damp weather used to kill that.
Yeah.
Starting was an issue. It's difficult, isn't it? $3,000. It depends what is love. It's difficult with classic cars because I think you're going to have to look 90s. If it was me, I'd look at a 90s car.
Ooh.
I'd say I'd go for a 90s classic car. I'd probably look at something weird and Japanese.
Okay.
Something strange, maybe Mitsubishi, the GTO.
Oh, okay, yeah.
An old Supra.
They're dirt cheap. A lot of those are dirt cheap.
If you can find something that's of that ilk, but with the grandad features of the Auto, you guarantee that thing has not been ragged. So the Honda Prelude, if you get an old Prelude, 20-year-old. Oh yes. Yeah. And they've all got velour interiors and autos, and they've got the tiny wheels because it was the 90s.
Yes,
it's a classic looking car now because you're not going to see those cars around. It's going to be pretty reliable. I mean, that's what he's mentioning here. Anything older than that is not a daily driver. I think you're gonna struggle.
I think so.
40 miles is it's also that's going to add up. What's that? It's total commute. So you're looking at 200 miles a week.
Yeah.
You need something. I would just say, or maybe an older BMW, an old Mercedes W124 coupe, pillarless coupe.
Oh, yeah.
I think it's going to cost you a fortune to keep it on the road.
3 Series coupe, that would be
$3,000,
nice. I thought.
Yeah, maybe less. Depends what you want. So it looks like we're saying Harigato to Japanese, and ja, das ist gut for the German brands.
Germans, yeah. CD111 if you let us know.
Yes.
Tell us what you do.
Yeah.
Okay. Finally, from Emily from the Costa Blanca, she emails to enthuse about Seat cars. She says she has a 1994 Seat Marbella, which isn't that the old
Fiat Panda?
Panda, yeah. But she cannot kill it. It's old but very trusty, and she says it's the perfect beta car. She takes it and the kids to school and goes shopping in it and commutes to work. And a few years ago, she even drove to the UK in it. She says it's not worth €300, but it's priceless to her. Beta cars are the best, she says.
So, a Fiat in hot weather is going to be perfect.
Yeah.
I think a Fiat in hot weather, fine. Those cars had really good engines. Well, certainly the Fiat Panda did. The problem was the bodywork.
Fire engines.
It's the fire, yes.
Yeah.
I remember replacing a set of points on my one, and my buddy came around to help me do it because I was completely mechanically inept. He said, "This is a really well-built engine." I was like, "That's great," because the rest of the car isn't. If it was just an engine, I would needed to go around because the doors are falling off. There's a hole in the bonnet. But in non-British weather, there's no reason you see cars like that going on and on. I remember seeing a Mark I Fiesta a couple of years ago in Greece, which I think was mostly made up of plastic padding. It was mostly made up of body filler and very little car left. It had a very wavy door. Some of the panels were very wavy. It looked like it had been put on, by a builder. Just
someone might have had too many Uzos when they.
That'll do. And it was pottering down the road with black smoke coming out the back. Talking of old cars, now I had this thought before I forget. Why don't you see cars with rust anymore? Right, when I was a kid, you'd always see a white car, and on the wing would be a little pool of rust.
Patch,
yeah. Or a one on the roof, or a vinyl roof. Who knew what horrors that hid? My uncle had an old English white Ford Capri with a brown vinyl.
Yeah. Did it start off brown?
And it was always brown. You never see cars with spots of rust on. You see the rusted wheel arch on an older car, but you actually used to see physical rust actually on the paintwork.
In random places.
Obviously where the car designer's gone, oh, that looks really cool. And then 25 years later, it looks really cool, except there's a perfect place for water to just sit into the car. I think either cars are getting, they're using better I think they're using better preservatives. I think the paint is better than it was 30, 40 years ago. But you don't see those faded cars. Not so much, anyway.
Especially red ones. You used to get the 60-day red cars that used to just turn pink. Yeah.
Now the theory with that, it wasn't they were always VW Polos or VW Golfs, and they were always in pink. Now,
yes.
I used to think you could cut those back to red, but apparently not. Apparently, it's some sort of process, and it only affects cars with red paint.
I think it's the pigment to do with in the actual paint itself, so it then goes a bit wonky donkey. So.
Okay, cars with no rust. Yes, get in touch with the mailbag at car-boyz. Email us at car-boyz@outlook.com. We want your emails, car-boyz@outlook.com, with all your car questions. Facebook, car-boyz at car-boyz 4Zs. Twitter, car-boyz, boys with a Z, at car_boys with a Z, and get in touch. I believe it's time for our quiz.
Yay! Have we got some music for this?
All right, my loves. All right, my name is Fru Sporside, and I've risen from my tomb to take you back to the 1980s with a super new version of my old quiz show, now entitled "Play Your Cars Right." Now, I'm starting to sound like Alan Carr. Yes, right, love. Yes, I'm not joined by any sexy dolly dealers, as they're all in their 60s now, and after the Me Too movement and Operation U-Tree, any reference to sexy ladies on the airwaves has been banned and may harm one's career. Now, instead, live from a prison somewhere in London, I'm joined by escapee Simon, who's hoping to walk off with a hostess trolley, a set of dining room furniture, and a gold plate 1980s carriage clock, which will look lovely on his mantelpiece well until the mid-1990s at the earliest. So say hello to Simon, everybody. Welcome to the quiz. And this week is all about speed. I'm going to have to stop doing that because it's hurting. And I'm starting to sound like Alan Carr. He had a big this week it's all about wasn't Bruce Forsyth? Didn't he come from Enfield near you?
Yeah, he was born in Edmonton.
Edmonton. Excellent. Round the corner. This week, and his wig's buried with him. This week, the quiz is all about speed limits of the world's roads. Do they go higher or do they go lower than those in Great Britain? And we're talking about the highest speed limits, so the top speed on freeways or motorways or autobahns. If you think they're faster than 70 miles per hour, you should shout higher. And if you think they go lower than 70 miles per hour, then you should shout lower. Got that?
Yes.
They are same. You get nothing for a pair of roads at 70 miles per hour. As we all say together, not in this game. It's exhausting. Right, here we go. Are you ready?
Yes.
Okay. Australia.
Australia.
Higher or lower than 70 miles per hour?
So it means we've got to start off at 70. So I think open space, I would say Australia is higher.
Well, this is a difficult one. Because parts of the Northern Territory in Australia don't really have any speed limits. But the majority is 68 miles an hour. Right, moving swiftly on to Austria.
Austria, so European, I would say higher.
Bing! 86 miles an hour.
Oh, 86 to be precise.
Or to live in Austria. What a fantastic speed limit that is.
Nice.
I'm guessing all the cars are working. All the cars, the roads are very nice, unlike the UK. Moving on to the Himalayan country of Bhutan.
I think the roads are very twisty, so I'm going to go for lower.
Yes, much lower. Do you want to have a quick guess at how much lower? Bing!
Oh, much lower. I would guess then something like 30?
Yeah, 31 miles an hour. Well done.
Oh, nice.
31. Okay. And of course, you'll know all about the Czech Republic, having done the feature on the Skoda this week. The Czech Republic, higher, my loves, or lower than 70 miles an hour.
If you could probably reach it, I would say higher.
Bing! Yes, it is higher. I've been in the Czech Republic it's been a few years ago. It's over 20 years ago, but the roads were superb.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Nice.
Moving on, and we go over to the Caribbean, to the Dominican Republic.
Ooh.
Higher or lower than 70 miles an hour?
I think it would be roads for cruising, so I would say lower.
Yes. Not too much, 63 miles per hour.
Oh, okay.
But this is in a country that doesn't have any alcohol laws or driving. There's no drink driving law, and we're not sure if the 63 miles an hour is enforced. I've been to the Dominican Republic 3 times. Yeah, no, don't think any. You're not going to get into. There's nobody with speed guns in the Dominican Republic. You're going to be. There's people with a lot of guns.
Yes, but
just not speed guns. And now we go from the Caribbean to the Middle East. Everybody's favourite Middle Eastern destination, Iraq. Higher or lower than 70 miles an hour?
Well, it depends if they're in an X6 with black paint, which no one can detect.
Yes,
I would
Mr. Hussein.
I would go. No, actually, I would think dictatorship was a dictatorship. I would go for lower.
No, you'd be wrong. Iran has, in some places of Iran, the top speed limit is 87 miles an hour.
Ooh.
Which I don't think you'd beat, because they have their own cars in Iran as well. They've got their own brands, which are, I think, old Peugeots and old Renaults. 87 miles an hour in one of those, I would not want to go. So, okay, Isle of Man.
Oh, Isle of Man. I think, what was the last one?
7 miles an hour.
Okay.
Isle of Man.
Isle of Man, I would go for... No, I would go for lower.
No, you fool. The Isle of Man, the TT.
TT, yeah.
There are no speed limits on the island.
Ooh. Okay.
No speed limits at all.
Fantastic.
Yes, that's how they get away with doing the TT.
Ah,
if you know what the TT is, it's a annual motorcycle race that takes place on Isle of Man, which is in the Irish Sea between England and Ireland. No speed limits at all. Moving swiftly on to Germany.
Germany, I would say higher. No. Oh, yeah. Really?
Yeah.
If there's no speed limit in... Okay.
Yeah, no speed limit on the Autobahn. An advisory is 80 miles an hour. What this means is if they catch you in a sea at Marbella doing 90, you get told to pull down. If you're doing 173...
in a car that can take it.
Yeah, they don't care. But it's very strange because the Germans do put restrictions on their own cars of about 160. The last few years, the BMWs have had restrictions put on. I don't know. I think the Mercedes as well.
Because I think in the 80s or 90s, they were like 144 or something really odd.
Yeah, it's the same sort of thing. They put a restriction because you've got these hypercars, like the Bugatti Veyron, which will do what in excess of 200. So there is no speed limit on the German Autobahn.
Okay.
Moving swiftly on to the Far East. That's silly. Malaysia.
It's got to be lower. Got to be lower.
No, you see, the Malaysians
really?
Were governed by the British Empire. They respected the right of the Queen, and the Queen is still, I think, their monarch, but not in their coin. They're still part of the Commonwealth anyway. They just adopted the British way. It's 70 miles per hour. So you get nothing for that one. Not in this game, my love. Nothing for repair. Mongolia.
Oh, I would say lower because I assume they're all on elephants and not cars.
They'd die. They'd be on yaks. No, it's higher because they're all drunk on vodka and they don't give a shit. 80 miles an hour in Mongolia. I know driving some old Russian van is fine. Let's drink more vodka and wrestle. I had a friend who did some work out in Mongolia, and she took her husband, who is a black man from England. And every time they stopped, they were in the wilderness in Mongolia, every Mongolian wanted to drink vodka.
Wow.
This is the first black man they'd ever met, and wrestle him. And my mate Steve said, I wouldn't mind, but I was in my 50s at the time. And there's all these young, fit Mongolian men go, right, have a drink with me, and then the wrestle. Okay, Samoa. We're out.
Samoa. I would go for lower.
Ding! Yes,
Ooh.
Samoa, no motorways, 45 miles an hour. Okay, now moving back to the Middle East, a very liberal country, Saudi Arabia, higher or lower than 70 miles an hour?
Ooh, lower.
It is higher,
Ah,
87 miles an hour. That's so the princes can burn around in their cars.
I see.
But obviously, only if you're a man, otherwise, it's 20 lashes. Moving swiftly on. No, Caribbean, north of South America. I think it was Dutch Suriname, where they make the bananas or grow the bananas. Suriname.
Higher or lower than 70? I would go for lower.
Bing!
Ooh.
50 miles an hour in the heated jungles of Suriname. We're running out of time. United Arab Emirates.
Higher?
Bing! This is brilliant. The UAE in the Middle East, 100 miles an hour in places,
Fantastic.
depending on if you're a prince.
Yes.
The good old US of A.
Higher than 70?
And we've gone for the highest.
I would. Oh, I think then it's probably a trick, so I would go for lower.
Is that your final answer?
Higher?
Higher. I'm trying to help you out here. You want to win that hostess trolley and that
The hostess. I want to win the
patio
hostess.
furniture and the fantastic Skoda Estelle we have outside. Now, it's usually 60 on the freeway, but one road in Texas is 85 miles an hour.
Those Texans.
Yes, they don't give a shit. Vatican City, Rome.
I think the Pope Mobile could only go about 50, so I go lower.
Lower. Bing! Yeah, it's 18 miles an hour. The top speed of the Pope Mobile.
Oh, it is.
Brilliant.
Probably the only car there.
Okay, moving to South Asia, India.
Oh, I don't think the roads can take it, so I would say lower than 70.
No, there's no speed limits in states in India. If you are going to die, you are going to die, my friend. Yes, I'm afraid that's it in India. They are both, for the majority, Hindus who believe in predestination. So if you're going to die, you're going to die. And the other lot are Buddhists. So if you're going to die, you're going to come back anyway. As long as you led a good life, you won't come back as a worm.
As a Hindustan ambassador.
It's a Hindustan ambassador, which is a car for people listening, not actually. Not a status rank in Hindustan. Number 8, Greenland.
Oh, there I would think they're a bit mad, so they would be higher.
Nope, no, it's lower than 70 miles an hour. It's 50 miles an hour. Although apparently America will change that when it takes over.
Allegedly.
Mexico.
Mexico, I would go for lower.
It is in fact higher, but only by 5 miles an hour. Mexico, you can bomb round in your Beetle if you can get it up to this speed at 75 miles an hour, yeah. And finally, Finland.
Oh, I'm going there next week, so I would guess higher.
Bing, 75 miles an hour. You have a total of 12 out of 20. And
do I win the hostess?
You win the hostess trolley.
No, hostess. I want the hostess.
You win the hostess. She's 68 now because she started Play Your Cards Right in 1982. That's okay. And you like them slightly older. And unfortunately, the Skoda Estelle has got one of the hostess trolley wheels on it instead of its ordinary wheel. It fell off waiting for you to answer the quiz. Hey, so well done. Thank you very much for that. That's almost it. Obviously, haven't mentioned the fact I got a parking violation.
You got a parking violation?
Yes, from those erudite creatives at Transport for London. Why, I ask you, Richard? You are a very safe driver. Well, it's because I was driving on a red route in London, which is very new to me. I don't know about this rubbish, but the red routes, I was driving on one, and for a few seconds, my rear wheel, and you notice I said rear wheel in the singular, was on a yellow crosshatch box, and a lovely camera, which I've already paid for, being a road taxpayer. I've paid for the camera, paid for the road, paid for the car when I bought it, paid for the road tax. It snapped my picture, and those of other people are also on the yellow box. And I put my hands up too, and I say my hands and not my middle finger. And I admitted guilt, and I paid the fine. The hilarious thing, they said to me, would you like to set up a direct debit to pay any future fines? To which me sounds like they want you to actively break the law to raise revenue for Asian Mr. Bean, who runs Transport for London.
And just deduct the money from your account straight away.
Could you just don't worry about breaking the violation? And in fact, if you could break that as many times as possible, and then we can raise some more revenue. I will get off my soapbox now. I don't mind getting got, but it was just the tone within the web page that I went to.
Oh dear.
CFL. I don't get too upset these days. I just see it as another form of taxation. That's it from us this week. That's about all from the show. Email the car-boyz at car-boyz@outlook.com. car-boyz@outlook.com. You can get in touch with the show on Facebook as well. The Facebook page is car-boyz, boys with a Z, remember, always boys with a Z, at car-boyz, 4 Zs at the end, car-boyz with a Z, at car-boyz, 4 Zs at the end. Twitter, we are car-boyz at car_boys. That's us on Twitter. Not that I get onto Twitter very much, but
we need to do more with Twitter.
We need Twittering. I need some help on Twitter. I might get people to help out. So that's it from us. Thank you very much. Get lost.
Thank you.
Get life.